Hello students, welcome to readmedprep Academy channel. Today in Organisms and Populations part 1, we are going to talk about the introduction to organisms and populations, organisms and its environment, habitat and niche of organisms. First, let us move on to the introduction to organisms and populations. What is ecology? The word ecology is derived from the Greek term oikos meaning house and logos meaning study. Thus, the study of the environmental house includes all the organisms in it and all the functional processes that make the house habitable. The study of ecology encompasses different levels: organism, population, community, ecosystem, etc. Various ecological study levels of ecology are global ecology, landscape ecology, ecosystem ecology, community ecology, population ecology, and organismal ecology. In ecology, the term population, originally coined to denote a group of people, is broadened to include groups of individuals of any one kind of organism. Community in the ecological sense designated as biotic community. It includes all the populations occupying in a given area. For example, you can see in the image the producers, the primary consumers, the secondary consumers, the tertiary consumers, the predators, the decomposers, again the producers. The community, which is called the biotic, and the non-living environment, which is abiotic, function together as an ecological system or ecosystem. Biome is a term in wide use for a large regional or subcontinental system characterized by a major vegetation type. Here you can see a biome pyramid where you have an increasing dryness from left to right and an increasing temperature from above to below. Here you can see the tropical forest at the base, and the dryness slowly increases in the grassland and in the desert. In the temperate regions, you have the temperate forest, and the dryness increases in the grassland, in the chaparral and the desert. In the subarctic regions, you can see the boreal forest. And in the Arctic region, which is the tundra, where the climate is very cold and the temperatures are very low. The largest and the most nearly self-sufficient biological system is often designated as the ecosphere, which includes all the living organisms of the earth interacting with the physical environment to regulate the distribution, abundance, production and evolution. Now let us move on to the organisms and its environment. Every living organism has its own specific surrounding, medium or environment with which it continuously interacts and develops suitable adaptations for survival there. Environment is a collective term which includes the different conditions in which an organism lives or is present. Here you can see the environment. It refers to the external conditions, resources, stimuli, etc. with which an organism interacts. It may be an external environment outside the organism or an internal environment which is within the organism but extracellular, especially in a multicellular organism. The common and influencing factors in any environment are light, temperature, pressure, water, salinity. These are collectively referred to as abiotic components. Environments are variable and dynamic, in which temperature changes and light changes are diurnal and seasonal. These influence the organisms inhabiting them. An organism's growth, distribution, number, behavior and reproduction is determined by different factors present in the environment. Now let us move on to the habitat. What is meant by habitat? Habitat refers to the place where an organism or a community of organisms live, including all the biotic and the abiotic factors or conditions of the surrounding environment. The collection of all the habitat areas of a species constitutes its geographical range. Organisms in a habitat interact with each other and can be part of trophic levels to form food chains and food webs. Here in this small classification, you can see the habitat may be a terrestrial habitat or aquatic habitat. The terrestrial habitats may be deserts, mountains, grasslands, etc. The aquatic habitats, they may be marine, like the oceans, and the freshwater habitats like the ponds, lakes, and the streams. Examples: in a xerophytic habitat, the camel is able to use water efficiently and effectively for evaporative cooling through their skin and respiratory system. They excrete highly concentrated urine and can also withstand dehydration up to 25% of their body weight. The hoofs and humps are also suitable adaptations for survival in this dry, sandy environment. In this image, you can see how a camel is successfully adapted to the desert environment. It has low levels of sweat. Thick fur and underwool provides warmth at night and insulation against sun in the day. Fat in the hump releases water when broken down, can withstand body temperatures of up to 42 degrees centigrade. An extremely large intestine for reabsorbing all the water from the foods they eat. Low volume urine to retain as much water as possible. Long muscular legs for walking. Wide feet to spread out weight on the sand. Can store large amount of water in the gut. A hard, flat area of skin on the stomach and thick leathery patches on knees protects when resting on hot sand. Copes with up to 30% water loss. Most animals die around 10%. Can drink up to 30% of its body weight when it finds water, 200 liters in 3 minutes. 2 rows of long eyelashes and thin slit nostrils protecting them from the blowing sand. In an aquatic media, maintaining a homeostasis and osmotic balance is a challenge. So marine animals have appropriate adaptations to prevent cell shrinkage, while freshwater organisms have suitable adaptations to withstand bursting of the cells. Apart from this, organisms such as fish have a wide range of adaptations like fins for locomotion, streamlined body for aerodynamics, lateral line system which is sensory, and gills for respiration, air sacs for flotation, and kidneys for proper excretion. Here you can see in this image the adaptations of fish in water. A operculum or gill cover, lateral line system which acts as a sensory organ system, a dorsal fin and a flat fin for swimming, caudal peduncle which is a narrow body region that connects the main body to the caudal fin, a caudal fin for proper swimming, the anal fin, the pelvic fins which are paired, and photophones, light emitting organs found on some fish, pectoral fins which are paired for easy flotation and movement. Now let us move on to niche or ecological niche. What is niche or ecological niche? As every organism has its unique habitat, so also it has an ecological niche, which includes the physical space occupied by an organism and its functional role in the community. The ecological niche of an organism not only depends on where it lives, but also includes the sum total of its environmental requirements. You can see the ecological niche describes the functional position of an organism in its environment. A niche comprises of a habitat in which the organism lives, the organism's activity pattern, the periods of time during which it is active, the resources it obtains from the habitat. For example, here you can see in the image the habitat, the adaptations, the activity patterns, the presence of other organisms around, and the physical conditions of these organisms. Charles Elton in 1927 was the first to use the term niche as the functional status of an organism in its community. Groups of species with comparable role and niche dimensions within a community are termed guilds. Species that occupy the same niche in different geographical regions are termed ecological equivalents. Many animals share the same general habitat, but their niches are well defined. The lifestyle of an individual population in the habitat is known as its niche. For example, crickets and grasshoppers are closely related insects that live in the same habitat, yet they occupy different ecological niches. The grasshopper is very active during the daylight. It can usually be found on a plant feeding the plant parts, whereas the cricket lives in the same field. It is quite different. During the day, the cricket hides under the leaves or plant debris and is usually inactive. It is active at night time, in nocturnal time. The cricket and the grasshopper do not interfere with each other's activities in the same habitat. Thus, niche of an organism can be defined as the total position and function of an individual in its environment. In a pond ecosystem where Katla, Rohu and Mrigal are present, the ecological niche of Katla is a surface feeder. Rohu is a column feeder and Mrigal is a bottom feeder. Their mouths are designed to suit their niche and hence have different positions and functions in their habitat. Here in this image you can see the niches of a pond system. The solar radiation or the light that is more on the surface and lesser in the deeper areas, and the water on the surface is warmer and the water in the lower part is cooler. And you can see the Katla, which is a surface feeder, and the Rohu, which is a column feeder, and the bottom feeder is the Mrigal. And the different types of plants are available for feeding. For example, on the surface you can see the phytoplanktons and the macrophytes. In the middle column you can see the zooplanktons, and in the lower column you can see the benthos. And the excretions of these animals or fishes are autolyzed in the water. Now, what are the differences between the habitat and niche? A habitat is a specific physical space occupied by an organism or the species, whereas niche is a functional space occupied by an organism in the same ecosystem. The same habitat may be shared by many organisms or species, whereas a single niche is occupied by a single species. Habitat specificity is exhibited by organism, whereas organisms may change their niche with time and season. So today in Organisms and Populations Part 1, we discussed about the introduction to the organisms and populations, organisms and its environment, habitat and niche of organisms. So thank you. Kindly subscribe, like, share and comment to channel readmedprep Academy. Kindly register for UG and PG NEET type MCQs in our website www.readmedprepacademy.com. Our Facebook ID is readmedprep Academy. Our email is readmedprepacademy@gmail.com. Our Instagram is readmedprep Academy. To join readmedprep Academy, kindly WhatsApp the number given below. Kindly post your questions in the comment box. We will reply with appropriate answers. Thank you very much.